Violence is never really, something that solves anything, and hatred never solves anything.
Absolutely.
I'm sure no one's born a terrorist, or no one's born with the intent of one day assassinating someone. Make me into an individual or an adult that hated any part of life, whether it's a culture or a religion or a country. Because quite honestly, terrorists don't belong anywhere.
Absolutely.
Because I felt like everybody knew I'm here. People thought I live in LA, for God's sake. And I was like, please wish better things for me. I love living in my country. I love my people. I find it very difficult I love working abroad, don't get me wrong. I love it. एक लाइन है जो अमोल के कैरेक्टर कहते हैं कि हमारा सस्ता गेम ऑफ थ्रोन्स. But no, it's doing really well, and I've been getting a lot of love and appreciation for playing Indrani Raising, and I really am so grateful. Lives that from the outside लगता है wow, so perfect. इनको क्या करना है, मेकअप लगाओ, चले जाओ, सुंदर लगो और पैसे बनाओ. But in reality, actually वो कितना मुश्किल है और क्या हमें पापड़ बेलने पड़ते हैं. Please everyone watch Kull on Jio Hotstar. It's a really cool show, as my Gen Z teammate says, and apparently I'm cooling it.
And Indian Games of Thrones or much more, well, we are in conversation with Nimrat Kaur, who is currently enjoying the success and love that she and her show is receiving. Kull, tell me, Nimrat, how's the feedback been? Everyone's just talking about the show right now.
Thanks, Sana. What a lovely intro. First this day. Yeah, actually, I know you haven't seen the show, but एक line है जो अमोल के character कहते हैं कि हमारा सस्ता Game of Thrones. But no, it's doing really well, and I've been getting a lot of love and appreciation for playing Indrani Raising, and I really am so grateful, because the show is just released and it's just dropped on Jio Hotstar, and there's so much going on around us that in spite of that, people have been giving us a lot of love, so I'm very grateful.
Right. There's also another line that says कि ये royals की story नहीं, actually her family की story है. Nimrat, when the script came to you, when the show came to you, what was your reaction to it? Firstly, tell me about that.
I was very excited, I was very excited to play a royal woman, and someone who's going to get to wear gorgeous georgettes and chiffons, and which girl hasn't romanticized being a Gayatri Devi, or in fact there is a gorgeous queen from Cooch Bihar at that time. उनका नाम इंद्रानी था.
Oh wow!
So the inspiration of Indrani's name for actually from there.
Amazing.
And when we were considering this was my idea that we should call her Indrani.
Amazing.
So I find that name, it's actually a version of one of the versions of Durga, Ma Durga.
Yeah.
And it symbolizes so much, and it's just got so much grace. So I feel like romantically inspired by this part. As an actor, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to play someone who's so regal and stoic and graceful. And then I read the script, because as soon as you deep dive into the story, you realize that it's everything but all the perfection that is portrayed, and all the flamboyance is really actually a smoke screen to cover all the drama, the emotional fatigue, the fractures, and just the dysfunctionality of that family. And like you said, it's like any other family with broken relationships, dysfunctional circumstances, and people who are always misfiring. She, being the eldest sibling in the family, assumes the role of the peacekeeper at all times. She's always, kind of knowingly, unknowingly trying to make sure that everything is in order, everything is perfect. The siblings are not fighting. One sibling wants her validation. One sibling gets too much attention. People want to, by the end of the show, once you watch it, you'll know that people want to literally come and shake my character up, that stop being so biased to your younger brother. And then, the catharsis of that character and what happens, and the journey has so many twists and turns and crazy plot points. it's emotionally been the most demanding and the most taxing part I have ever attempted.
Amazing. But also tell me, Nimrat, another show based on the royal family is releasing soon on another OTT platform.
Yeah.
And people are kind of drawing comparisons to it. What do you have to say? Was it sheer coincidence that both shows are coming at the same time?
Indeed, because you see, I as an actor don't have any part to play in when something releases or when it doesn't. I wish I did. I would have had a lot of work, release at many different points. But I wish everyone all the very best, and I feel the more the merrier. And if one show does well, then people are going to be like, oh, you know what, this is so exciting, let's see what the other one's all about.
Right.
And then let more comparisons happen for all. I mean, I think all of us want every show, everything to do well, because as a business collectively, we know that everyone can be on either side anytime.
Right.
I could be on a winning end, and I could be on an end which is not so winning, and it doesn't matter. Everything levels out.
Right.
And I think everybody must have the opportunity to at least put their work out there. I'm just very happy that stuff is getting released, because there have been bottlenecks in the business for a while. Things haven't been coming out, and we're all waiting for work to kind of see the kind of golden days that we all wish for it.
Right.
So I think it's all good.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
But did you see rushes of it? Is there any similarities that we can expect?
No, I don't know, because I haven't seen anything substantial enough. So I won't really, I'm not in the right place to say that.
And Nimrat, of course, royal families, we are kind of showcasing how they live kind of dual lives. Of course, it's all like you rightly mentioned, flamboyance all together. I think actors also somehow live dual lives, because there's much more to behind the camera.
Absolutely right. Very, very astute observation.
Absolutely. So tell me, how is Nimrat when she is not shooting? What is the kind of life that she kind of leads?
So that's a very astute observation. I am more guarded when I'm at work. I'm not as freewheeling as I am as a person.
Right.
Because I feel like, sometimes things said in innocence, or things just said as a matter of fact, or just nonchalance or humor, that's very often lost on people.
Right.
And I find that to be, a little bit disappointing sometimes. And I'm someone who doesn't take herself extremely seriously. I take my work very seriously, but not myself.
Amazing.
And then what happens is, I mean, it's amazing and it's not so amazing, because when people take just rubbish you've said with no real ill intent or anything like that, at a workplace seriously, and they make strange connotations out of it, then you're like, oh my god, but I isn't that funny though? But I thought that was funny, but it's not.
It's not.
So I have now understood that one has to be a little bit careful. I can only try though. I can't, one of the laws of physics, that everything will come back to its natural state after a point, or whatever that law is. But I do believe that does exist. So after a point, you can't really, travel too far from who you really are. But I feel like there is a lot of similarity in a royal life setup and a celebrityhood setup. There are a lot of parallels, because we live lives that from the outside लगता है wow so perfect, इनको क्या करना है, मेकअप लगाओ, चले जाओ, सुंदर लगो और पैसे बनाओ, but in reality actually वो कितना मुश्किल है, और क्या क्या हमें पापड़ बेलने पड़ते हैं, कितना क्या क्या चीज़ें, like what all we have to handle, and in spite of what kind of things we have to, one has to show up. So those are things which are often overlooked.
Absolutely.
And I think in the royal family setup also, everybody feels like, अरे यार इनके पास तो they just have jewels worth thousands of crores, and that's all. They're just literally sleeping on their diamonds and emeralds, and probably eating a couple of them as well for breakfast. I don't know, But actually the reality is that they really can't be themselves, and they have so many eyes on them. And in every royal palace, I am told that there's always one lunatic, one crazy character, which everyone's trying to kind of keep away from, the public eye. I mean, these are all, again, I'm saying as a common person, but I do believe that there are a lot of parallels.
But do you remember a story where you maybe had to put up a facade or just pretend, because you're of course an actor, and you remember a story?
I do know, not one particular story, but I do know that many times as an actor, I have, opposite feelings working, and on screen I have to do something completely different. Like, you know, maybe I'm just having a really bad day, and on set on that day I have to laugh and, you know, be cheery and create jokes and make sure that it's bloody good, because, you know, that's immortalized.
Absolutely.
So my personal emotions can go take a hike, because at that time all that matters is between action and cut, and that's going to remain forever.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be filed as something I have done and something I didn't do. So you know, one has to kind of, you know, you learn how to compartmentalize, and I think that's kind of like a bit of a, you know, a skill I have now, where I know that, you know, I don't always have the luxury to express myself, and I take that very, very seriously, and I do believe that, you know, when used and utilized correctly, that can actually become a very big asset.
And what about physical aspect? Do you like dressing up when you're not shooting, or you're like comfortable in your pajamas?
I like wearing stuff like what you're wearing.
Right.
Dresses. I love feminine dressing. I'm not very much into grunge, but I do like to, you know, like experiment with things. I don't like to wear something because it's cool and it's like, you know, fashionable or Gen Z approved. But I do wear, you know, things that I do believe, you know, that suit me, or, you know, make me feel weather friendly on that day or whatever. And yeah, I'm chilled out like that.
Super.
I don't, you know, wear my job.
That's a great line.
I don't do that.
Super.
Oh.
Yeah. If I'm not wrong, Nimrat, you have a sister?
Yes, of
yes.
course.
So
I have
was
a younger
just,
sister.
Yes. So I was just tell me about it, because of course you're playing this doting sister to the brother. But how were you while growing up?
She's an unhealthy sister. My God, thank God I'm not like her as a sister. Goodness. It's like the Frankenstein and you know, the monster kind of a thing what I'm playing here. But in real life, my sister is really precious to me. She's, you know, she's highly qualified. She's someone I'm super proud of, and everything I lack, which is a whole bunch of things, she's an expert at. So I feel very, very, very blessed. You know, she's really my anchor, my you know, my person to go to whenever I feel like, okay, you know, I can't figure this out. I can open my heart out and speak to her about everything and anything. And, you know, it just makes me feel very grateful how close we are, and, you know, we laugh at the same things.
Amazing.
And that's also not amazing sometimes, because in a room, I know she's cracking up because of something, and I don't even want to make eye contact because I'm the bloody elder one. And everyone's going to be like, okay, she's laughing, but what about you? Why are you cracking up? You know? So we have the same taste in music unknowingly. Like, we have similar playlists. Just things like that, you know. It's like two peas in a pod. You know, you can't go against a gene code.
And talking about films and of course content right now, everyone's talking about how Bollywood is kind of ailing. None of the films are working at the box office. An actor, tell me, Nimrat, does that become a really worrisome situation for you guys?
You know, what worries me more, rather than what's working and not working, is not being able to work as often and as much as one wants to. And I see that around me a lot. A lot of extremely capable and able actors have not been employed for a very long time, and that's what worries me. Because, you know, households, rents have to be paid, families have to be kept up, bills have to be paid. It's a profession at the end of the day, and, you know, when things don't do well, whether it's a movie or a web series or anything, then there is nervousness in the market and budgets are curtailed, and then projects take longer to roll out. That worries me. So when you asked me a question earlier on in the interview that, you know, there are 2 shows coming up, honestly, let 5 shows come up with the same theme for all I care. Because at this point in time, the need of the hour is for stuff to release, for stuff to be made, for content to be created so that people can be employed and be happily out there doing what they have, you know, crazily chosen at some point in their life when they decided not to walk the straight path of, you know, a conventional job. So that is what worries me more than something not doing well, because I think that's cyclical. All that happens, and not all films do badly. We've recently seen fabulous, you know, performances. I mean, Skyforce is an example.
Of course.
You know, it's done so well for a film, you know, with a specific kind of theme. So yeah.
Right. And Nimrat, because you've kind of maybe throughout your journey you've stuck to being priority has been quality rather than quantity for you somehow. Tell me, does that sometimes act like against you, because there must be people not coming up to you with roles thinking that you may not want to do it, commercial massy films like these kind of films?
Yeah. You know, I do take responsibility for that, because I felt like everybody knew I'm here. People thought I live in LA, for God's sake. And I was like, please wish better things for me. You know, I love living in my country. I love my people. I find it very difficult I love working abroad, don't get me wrong. I love it. But to live in a foreign country is, you know, something that is unthinkable for me.
Right.
Then for people to have assumed that I've moved there and, you know, आप तो ऐसी फिल्में करना नहीं चाहेंगे. I said, आपको किसने बोला? मेरी मासी ने बोला, मेरी माँ ने बोला, मैंने बोला. What happened? Like, you know, where did we assume these things? But I feel like that's something that I have worked, I should have worked on, where I should have gone to people and told them that this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be, this is the kind of stuff I want to do. But I'm doing that, and you know, I have been able to do work, you know, basis what suits me and things, and you know, I've been very grateful.
Absolutely.
I've been very, very lucky nonetheless,
right.
You know, given all of that and the lack of an understanding somewhere. Sometimes I just live in my own head, I think, you know, a little bit. I'm a Piscean, maybe it comes from there, you know. So I kind of live in my own world, and I'm like, yeah, you know, everybody knows. I feel like people will know, hence they know.
But after all these years, like, what is the kind of work that you still want to do, or a genre?
Lots.
Yeah,
so much. I want to do something in a horror genre.
Oh wow.
Horror comedy, romantic comedy. I want to do a whole bunch of these kind of things, because and a lot more of what I've already done. I would love to do an action film, something that puts me back in the test case zone. I love doing that so much. It's so close to my heart, and that is incidentally Ekta's project.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's a completion of a circle, coming back with Kull with her.
Yes.
So yeah, so many things.
Amazing. Lastly, also I wanted to speak to you, like we were discussing about what is the present scenario, especially for you who's faced a family who's faced the brunt of violence while growing up. How do you look at the situation right now, and with people talking about a war maybe?
Well, I won't want to comment on something I don't know anything about, because you know, it's the word itself, it has such serious consequences. I don't think a lot of us even quite recognize you know, the gravity of assuming there might be war or anything of that sort. That just, I think, also spreads fear, and it's a bit of scaremongering. You know, it reminds me of COVID times, when there was a whole bunch of this going around, and you know, that just made everyone nervous and skittish.
Absolutely.
And let's not do that as a country. What we need to recognize and understand is that terrorism has no place in this world. And anyone and any country or any land or any government that enables that must be told which way is north. And I do believe that our government and our armed forces are committed to that cause, and I am so proud of them for having taken the stand they have taken, and you know, for having executed Operation Sindoor, as we know, which feels very personal because of you know, my personal history and being a martyr's daughter myself. And you know, all our support and prayers and courage and strength is with our armed forces and the government. But I think let's limit it to just that, because at the end of the day, we're all civilians, and we're leading our lovely lives, and you know, doing things that are normal day-to-day things, whereas there are serious consequences, you know, perhaps some grim times coming up. So let's all be cognizant of that, and you know, handle it responsibly.
But the way things happened with your father, Nimrat, like, did that change your outlook towards life, towards violence, towards the army?
Well, it changes you forever, actually, because, and this is something you understand in hindsight, because you neither have the intellect nor the language, you know, as an 11-year-old.
Absolutely.
And when we got to Kashmir, we went there with our father, and we left there without him, and the life as we knew it was over forever. And what that taught me was that violence is never really, you know, something that solves anything, and hatred never solves anything.
Absolutely.
I'm sure no one's born a terrorist, or no one's born with the intent of one day assassinating someone. somewhere along the way something fractures a human being, or there is a schooling that went wrong, my problem is that schooling, and my problem is exactly the, you know, the backbone of the enablers, you know, that allow terrorism and allow such heinous violent acts on their time.
Right.
So I was very cognizant of that. It did not make me into an individual or an adult that hated any part of life, whether it's a culture or a religion or a country, because quite honestly, terrorists don't belong anywhere.
Absolutely.
They're really, you know, demonic in their minds, and they are stuck between life and death somewhere, I feel. Truly, I believe that.
Truly.
And I feel that, you know, the root cause of terrorism is what needs to be uprooted, you know, from ground below.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel as a grown-up, as an army daughter, as a citizen.
Absolutely. Just listening to you is giving me goosebumps, Nimrat. I mean, for you, I'm sure it must be triggering to even watch things like these, especially with what happened in Pahalgam, maybe.
I just pray, you know. I pray for the families. My prayers and I send them so much strength.
Absolutely.
Because I can, you know, I can sense, I can perceive what each individual in that family or all those families are going to have to go through for the rest of their lives.